which is when the grand jury refused to indict Forte. It wasn't much of a surprise. Rosalind Salomon, Michelle's mother, wrote a letter to numerous New York officials in 1988. If my daughter was pulled into a bush and raped by an assailant, and he was caught, there would be some kind of punishment. Yet because she was raped by a person who appears to be a respectful citizen, we are still going through this nightmare. The New York detectives realised that they didn't stand a chance at making Forte pay for his crimes, so they tried to get help from the Vermont State Police, where the first victim was raped. The state police in Vermont had Michelle make a call to Forte, trying to get him on tape admitting to the crimes. In the end, Forte didn't come out and say he raped her, but he said enough that jurors later considered it strong evidence of his guilt. "You had a great time," Forte said to Michelle, "and I treated you like gold." Instead of trying to prove his so-called innocence, Forte instead attacked his victim's character. He said she made the whole thing up because of a fight she had with his daughter. It was a pathetic attempt to hide who he was, but the jury saw right through it. They found him guilty of 3 counts of sexual assault. But before sentencing, the judge, Theodore Mandeville Jr., said that the prosecutor's demeanour can only be described as a fury seldom seen this side of hell. The judge was referring to the fact that the prosecutor had cross-examined Forte's daughter. It turned out that his daughter had been in the room with her father and Michelle. The judge said that it was unnecessarily vicious and brutal. What really happened was the judge clearly appeared to be sexist against female prosecutors. He said that she had gained the jury with being too emotional, so he ordered a new trial. It would take over 7 years of legal paperwork for the district attorney's office to give up on having the original conviction reinstated, and finally was so